Yo, what's up? Welcome back to Eating and Talking to John. Today, got a special one. Well, I don't know if it's special. Just as special as all the other ones, let's say. Today, we got Nick the Greek. Today, got a chicken gyro. So, yeah. And I had a genius idea while I was walking to downtown, actually, to get a meal. I had another place down in downtown Mountain View that I really liked. It's called Hong Kong Bakery, and I got an egg tart from them. So yeah. Anyways, guess I'll start off by saying thank you guys for the support on the third video, the ice video. That one really popped the fuck off. Got some people calling me fat. Who cares? Thanks for the interaction, I guess. We are still gonna eat, and I'm not gonna let it fuck me over, I guess. Yeah. So, anyways, got a chicken gyro. So, finally, remembered to do some research on this place. Oh, another thing, I didn't put any of the locations of the places I was going to on under the videos until I did the falafel stop episode, because it didn't really click in my mind that most of the places that I were going to were just chain restaurants, and my actual sleeper restaurants you probably wouldn't be able to find just off of a Google search. So, started to remember to put the locations. So if you ever want to try any of these places, you can check the bio. If I say it's a chain restaurant, then I believe you should just be able to search it up and get a location. But most of my locations are going to be around where I reside. So, yeah. Anyways, I finally did some research on the place. So, Nick the Greek. I mean, it's a pretty big establishment. But seems like it's not really an East Coast thing. So if you're watching from East Coast, somehow, some way, for whatever reason, if we come here, if we ever come to the West Coast, there's gonna be Nick the Greek places, and this place is pretty good. And if you're in the West Coast, and you haven't had Nick the Greek, you should have it. So yeah, this is one of my friends. His name is Ishan. He'd come here like every day of summer because he's so bored. But the food is so good, and it's close to his house, so food is so good too. So take it from that guy. Take it from Ishan. Food's great. Usually I order the chicken gyro. I like chicken, but I've tried their beef before, and their beef is pretty good too. So yeah, take it as you will. Anyways, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say, oh yeah, they gave me napkins, which was really nice. So, I did research on the place, and because it's a chain restaurant, there's not really an allocated, like, how do we start, FAQ, fun facts kind of thing. But what I did learn was that, unlike Rogers Deli and Donuts, which is owned currently by a woman, I think, so maybe they were founded by Roger, this place was founded by Nick, but not just Nick, 3 Nicks. They had 3 Nicks on this fucking project. It was like big brother Nick, little brother Nick, and then their cousin Nick or something. And it's kind of weird how all of them are called Nick, but apparently it's like tradition in Greece to like name after your like father or some shit. I don't really remember, but that's why they're all called Nick. So yeah, pretty cool. Now this sauce that they put on, which is like, I don't really know what sauce it is, but it's like kind of tangy. Or it's like a little bit tangy. It doesn't really overpower the ingredients inside the gyro, but really homogenizes the entire thing together and tastes really good. So, this summer while I was in China, right? I had to use data for my entertainment and stuff. And, data costs money. So, in my head, I thought it was not very cost efficient to spend all my time watching YouTube videos. Also, I learned yesterday from my friend Ian. He said that the Chinese government, they purposely do not block your data. So this is not something that's going to get patched. They purposely do not block your data because they know it's coming from a foreign country. So if they were going to block your access to the internet, like you already know the stuff that Tiananmen Square and shit. So it doesn't matter if they block it from you or not. Anyway, so during my trip to China, I pirated Catcher in the Rye from the internet, I guess, to read while I was there, so I can conserve my data. And the reason I chose Catcher in the Rye, so at my school we have to read Catcher in the Rye, but only like specific English classes have to. So for me, I didn't take an English class that had to read Catcher in the Rye, and it was given an option, I think, at some point for book club, so I didn't choose to read Catcher in the Rye. But it was one of those books that really captivated me. When I was in middle school, because I'm Asian, my parents forced me to take after school English class, and then I was assigned to read Catcher in the Rye and do book reports and stuff on it. But because I wasn't really into English at the time, I kind of put it off to the side and I really didn't pay attention. But I do remember sitting in one lecture, because I'm a studious Chinese boy, I have to listen to lectures and shit. During one of their lectures, my teacher, he was like, Catcher in the Rye is a story that doesn't really have a plot, and the main character is a fuckhead. Well, obviously, he didn't say those words, but main character was not a great main character, I guess. And those words stuck with me for a very long time. I didn't really read Castro in the Rye in middle school. I probably glanced at a couple pages and read up to chapter 8, and then after that I just stopped reading. But those experiences in middle school kept me captivated, right? And I just throughout my life I was at some point I really want to actually read Catcher in the Rye because it sounds really interesting. That how is an author able to write a book with no plot? So finally read it, and I think it's really sad that a couple things. I think it's really sad that one, a lot of people really hate reading the book, because for me, as somebody who doesn't really read a lot, I thought the book was very interesting. I really liked reading it. And two, I'm sad that I didn't read it earlier, I guess. Oh, I have a third one. So I'm gonna clean myself up a little bit here. And three, I think it's really, really sad that they decide to assign this book to high school seniors at my school. Assign it to high school seniors. Because fundamentally, the book is kind of about the high school experience, in a way, right? For some people, it's a little bit like the high school experience. So, and it's kind of a very emotional, in my opinion, it's emotional. Maybe you guys think differently. But in my opinion, these are all my opinions, by the way. It was a very emotional book for high schoolers. So it's two things, right? if you don't read Catcher in the Rye, then you don't get to read this book, and it doesn't matter if you don't. But you kind of end up hating reading the book, and you don't read it, and you kind of like, oh, this Catcher in the Rye, this is a boring piece of shit book that I really fucking hate reading about Holden and shit. And like, I totally get that, because I think if I didn't come in with the knowledge that the book had no plot and shit, I think I'd be pretty fucking mad too, reading about this angsty fuck's like story. But on the other side, it's like you read the story, and then you're like, oh fuck, like I kind of see Holden in myself a little bit. Like, I think everyone at that stage of life will see themselves in Holden a little bit and be like, wow, maybe I am kind of a fucking dickhead. Either way, you're not feeling good about reading the book, because either you read it and you don't like it and you start to hate reading a book, or you read it and you kind of like it, but then you realize you're a fucker. You're like, you're a shitter, right? So, like, I think I'm in the boat of like, wow, I'm a fucking shitter. And like immediately after, right? So the book has kind of a bittersweet ending, but throughout the book, it's very, very sad and kind of depressing to read. And that's why I think, like, if you're on the side that actually cares about reading the book, you feel like shit afterward, because it was so depressing to me. I don't know. I think the author, what's his name? J.D. Salinger, I think. J.D. Salinger. You know, I feel like, okay, so before I like continue my review of the book, I think like when I'm reviewing books, I feel very fucking like, what is it? Like, okay, so you know how this is how I got explained. So, you know how like LaCroix, sparkling water, like presents itself like as better than everyone else, even though it's a shit water. Like, that's the kind of word. It's not posh. It's I can't remember the word. Let's just say I feel like I'm better than other people for like explaining my words in a certain way. I think that's like part of the fun of English. But anyways, I'm gonna preface it by saying, like, you know, you can think about the book however you want, and I totally agree with you. I probably will see it. Also, I guess I recognize that I will probably say things in like fucking smarter way. Like, I recognize I'm a shitter for that. Yeah. Anyways, I think J.D. Salinger was very inventive in the way that he wrote this book. And maybe other authors have done this in the past, but like, I think it's kind of like interesting to write a book where you kind of like this book takes place in a span of probably like 2 or 3 days. And instead of like my English teacher in middle school said, you're not giving people a story. But in my opinion, when I was reading it, you're kind of seeing like Salinger's painting, I guess. Salinger's painting or portrayal of a character. And he fleshes his character out very, very deeply. It's almost like you could see him, I guess. Like, you could totally see Holden in real life. As an angsty fuck. And I think that's just like very special in a way, because you're not getting sold on like a traditional story, right? Where you have like your main, you know, what's the fucking thing? Like climax, whatever the fuck. But you're kind of reading through this guy and being able to see all his emotions and like read every single one of his thoughts. One thing I kind of liked about this story, which I know people will definitely dislike, is sometimes he'll start talking about something And then after that, he just like says some random offhanded comment that's just bullshit. And I think like it's kind of annoying. It'll probably be annoying for some people to read, but for me, it's like this kind of feels human in a way, because I know like my brain kind of jumps from like thing to thing. And then maybe I'm excusing like theoretically bad writing, but I don't know. I think I see him as more like human that way, I guess. You know, and I think some people have an interpretation of this book as like J.D. Salinger is writing a book about being afraid to grow up, and in the end, my opinion, like I don't think Holden really grows up by the end of the book. He kind of just helps his sister kind of like not grow up, if that makes sense. He prevents his, like, you know, like the story says, like he's the catcher in the rye, where he stops his sister, like he's trying to stop little kids from falling, from like running in the rye and falling off a cliff and dying. He's kind of stopping his sister from growing up too fast like he does, and lets her play on the carousel, right? And like I've seen interpretations of it being like, oh, an entire story is Holden being afraid to grow up. And like I see that, but at the same time, I think there's like I think yes, that's part of it, but then also I just like to think of it as like, you know, take any high school kid who's maybe going through a bad time, and you're kind of like, you take their life, right, their entire life, and you take one tiny little portion of their life, cut that out, and you're retelling that as a story, right? It's not a fucking like, guys, don't be too afraid to, don't grow up too quickly. Like, he's not trying to tell you a story. I think he's trying to tell you, you know, I can write a story of this one kid who goes through kind of a hard time, and we're going to cut out a very, very small, tiny part of it, and we're going to tell that story. And it's interesting enough to pass as a story, right? Instead of like, I'm going to try to teach a lesson. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is like, in my interpretation of it is like take an entire movie, right? For example, take an entire movie, and I'm going to clip one part of it. Like Wolf of Wall Street or something, where the fucker, you know, I'm based off Instagram Reels, so I don't actually know if this is what's actually happening. The fucker, he's like, oh, I'm gonna like sell you on those kinds of stocks. Like, that's the clip that we're seeing. Like, I think J.D. Salinger is not teaching you to not grow up too fucking fast. Like, yes, that's part of it, but the bigger picture is like, my entire point of writing the story is I can write this character in a very, very, very palpable way just by clipping his life, I guess. And I think I agree with my middle school teacher, where it's like, this isn't a story that really has a plot. Because like I said, my interpretation is that his life is just clipped, right? We literally like clipped his life, and the things that happen in those 2-3 days is all kind of normal stuff that happens. I don't even know if it's 2-3 days. It might be like 1 or 2. Those days, like everything that happens then is like stuff that I could totally imagine just happening in day-to-day life. Right? And there's even like an argument to be made that like the pacing's weird. But I feel like the pacing being weird is a result of like it becoming more human to me. You know? And I think like the way that it's presented, like, you know, it's just very human. That's the main thing that I really enjoyed about the book. yes, it's really depressing to see Holden be this kid who's like, you know, he's in a family, he goes to school, he's like basically any normal person like us, even like he's rich. Yeah, he's kind of rich, but other than that, most of his stuff is like kind of what we would imagine somebody like that doing. But then we see him go through all this like turmoil and inner like, what is it? Inner battles, I guess. And just like see him get worse and worse and worse and worse over the story until the very end, where he kind of catches his sister. And, you know, maybe there's a part of it that was also, you know, I'm just thinking about this now. Another part where it's also like his sister's catching him from falling off the cliff and into the rye. You know? His life isn't over when he gets kicked out of Pensy. I think it's Pensy. Like, his life isn't over when he gets kicked out of Pensy. And there's always stuff that you can look forward to in life. That's how he kind of gets saved from falling off the cliff. So, you know, I don't know. There's obviously a lot of stuff to talk about with Catcher in the Rye. But I like, you know, I don't know how many people have, like, taken this interpretation of it. I don't think I'm the first, but I'm voicing my opinion on it because I want to. You know, that's the whole point about these videos anyways. But yeah, I thought it was a really good book, and if you haven't read it yet, I think it's definitely worth reading, especially if you're around like this age, because you kind of I think this is the age where you really, really start to think about what Holden is like how similar Holden is to you, I guess. I thought Holden was I was similar to Holden, I guess, in a way. Not the fucking like get so depressed that you're like thinking about all this like really bad stuff, but the thing about like, oh, if I fail and I have to let my parents know about like this stuff, then all this stuff's gonna go down and it's not good. Like, you know, I think you can like see that. So yeah. Anyways, here's the egg tart. If anything, I should have done research on this place. It's called Hong Kong Bakery. So good. So here's the thing, right? We have a Ranch 99 near us, where I live, and they sell egg tarts too, right? And back in my junior year, I hadn't had an egg tart in a very, very long time. I was like, man, I'm gonna go to Ranch 99. I'm gonna get an egg tart. Let me tell you, the egg tarts at Ranch 99 are fucking ass. Do not get the egg tarts there. Or like, okay, if you get them from the counter, like they do like a hot food counter, dim sum counter, I think. If you get it from there, it's probably okay. But the ones that are packaged, don't get that shit. That shit's fucking ass. Instead, you come to Hong Kong Bakery, you get an egg tart. These egg tarts are really good. I've been having their egg tarts for a pretty long time, for a while, and you know, they never failed to disappoint. Another thing is they're like, you know, Hong Kong Bakery. They make a lot of pastries that are really, really good. I'm a very big fiend of what's it called? A very big dim sum fiend, right? I love dim sum. I love me some xiaolongbao, or I guess it's called like XLB. You know, little tiny little dumplings. Those are really good. But I love the sweet ones. So like egg tarts, really good there. They have a cha shao bao, which is steamed buns or like pork buns or stuff. They have pan fried pork buns, and they have the steamed pork buns. Both of them are really good. You need to go try them if you're in the area. Come to this place. I was talking to the owner because, you know, the place is owned by, I'd assume, you know, Hong Kong people. They speak Mandarin, so, you know, whenever I go in, I try to make my best effort to speak Chinese to them, because I'm not a very great Chinese speaker. But one time I went in there, and sometimes they're closed, but I went in there and I was asked them, hey, you know, I noticed that sometimes your shop's closed. What's up with that? And they said, like, you know, they're getting old. Not as much time that they can devote to running a shop. So it's kind of hard to, like, get in, you know, and make it worth. But, you know, you can catch them on a time that they're open. I think most of the time they're weekdays. I think usually their weekdays are open, and I think I've caught them on the weekends. If you ever catch them open, and I think they've been more open recently, come here, get an egg tart, get a steamed or pan-fried pork bun. So phenomenal. Really, really good. If anything, this is like my sleeper pick. Probably one of my more sleeper picks on whatever episodes I do. Because sometimes they're just like literally not open, and you don't get to try some of their stuff. But if you ever get a chance to, you must come here in downtown Mountain View and try some of their stuff out. You know. Yeah. Well, I think this one's a shorter one. Thought I'd spend a little bit more time talking about Catcher in the Rye, but you know how it is. Hopefully, more bangers in the future. Again, thank you for the support. If you've been watching the videos that, you know, if you've been watching all the videos, thank you. That's really awesome. Love to see that. It's great to see, you know, even the Fantastic Four video, like, has a couple views, and it's like, man, like, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like, I didn't even think that one would even hit like 5 views. You know what I mean? Like, really means a lot to me that, like, people are at least taking some time to, like, watch the first 5 minutes, just see what I have to say about some of these restaurants. It's great. You know, hopefully more to come. Still have some bangers on the way, and, you know, hopefully I get to talk to you guys a little bit more, you know. I feel like I have some more stuff to say, but I can't really think of it off the top of my head. Yeah, you know, I guess we'll leave it at that. If you could, you know, like, subscribe, comment, anything helps. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much again for watching. And I guess I'll catch you guys in the next one. Yeah, thank you.